Hi, I'm Jason Inman.
And I'm Ashley Victoria Robinson.
And welcome to DCTV Recap, the show where we recap Supergirl and Legends of Tomorrow because we already have separate Arrow and Flash reviews. You can check those out over there. Now, before we dive deep into the DCTV shows of this week, I want to tell you about that if you don't know, I want to tell you about Jupiter Jet. Jupiter Jet #1 is coming out December 6th, and it's a comic book that's written by Ashley and myself. It's the first comic book miniseries that we have ever worked on. We're very proud of it, and we really would like you to go check it out. Ashley, what's it about?
Jupiter Jet is Kim Possible meets the Rocketeer. In 1935, a teenage girl has a jetpack. She robs from the rich, gives to the poor, fights the mob. It's action-packed, and some guys with glowy eyes come after her.
That's right, and comic book shops around you are looking to order their comic books for December right now, and that's why we're asking you to go to comic book shops and order Jupiter Jet issue #1 right now, just that you can tell your comic book shop that you want to read this awesome book. But I'm gonna make it a little bit sweeter for you, a little bit nicer for you. If you go to your local comic book shop and you order Jupiter Jet issue 1, and you find the Diamond Previews catalog right here, this is the giant ad for Jupiter Jet, and you take a picture inside your comic book shop holding up this or holding up the Jupiter Jet order form that we have on our Twitter of any kind, and you send it to me on Twitter at Jawiin, I will send you anywhere in the United States this Volume 1 All-Star Batman hardcover. That's right. So if you buy our book, Jupiter Jet, our comic, order it, take a picture inside your local comic book shop, because that helps your local comic book shop, I'll give you a comic book for a comic book. It's a fair exchange, and you have 1 week to do that. You have until the next DCTV recap, and then whoever who's, randomly selected picture I like, you're going to get an All-Star Batman. So go support Jupiter Jet issue #1, and go support your local comic book shop. But now, let's go support Supergirl.
Supergirl Season 3, Episode 3, Far from the Tree. Maggie reaches out to her estranged father when Eliza throws her and Alex a wedding shower, while Supergirl joins Jean on his personal mission.
All right, we're going to go through the good, the bad, then the rating, then our predictions as we work our way through this episode. Ashley, I really liked right up the top the reveal of how we get to Mars is like this old, 60s convertible jalopy. I thought that was really funny, and then I really liked it when John Jones said the line as well that he was like, well, we shapeshift. Why shouldn't why wouldn't our technology as well? I thought that reveal. No, I saw pictures of this leading up to it on Twitter, and I was like, this looks dumb. But actually seeing it be executed, I really, really enjoyed it. What else did you like about this episode?
Man, I liked everything on Mars. More Mars on Supergirl. I thought that for the most part, the cave set that I think used to be parts of the DEO really held up.
I actually wrote down that I thought it's either, I think, you remember when Supergirl went through the Stargate to that other prison planet?
Oh, yes, that might be that.
It's either that, or I think it's a redressed Dominator hallway from the crossover.
Good call.
Yeah.
But I thought Mars felt really fully realized.
With inside caves and buildings.
Well, sure, but compared to even some other locations that we've had on the show, I really, really enjoyed everything that happened there.
I really enjoyed John Jones' father, played by the amazing Carl Lumbly, who, if you don't know, voiced Martian Manhunter on Justice League Unlimited. I think his robe looked really good, a very nice amalgamation of a hooded Martian Manhunter costume. And I just thought that him being on screen was like literally seeing the closest we will ever see to the Justice League Unlimited cast becoming live action. I thought it was such a brilliant choice to make him Mirren, his dad, and I thought it was such a really great performance, especially the moment where John sees his father through the monitor for the first time. David Harewood gives an amazing performance when he freaks out that his father is alive. Everything with the father, everything with John Jones, spectacular in this episode.
I do also want to shout out their initial scene together when he doesn't believe that Jean is Jean. The special effects have never looked better than they looked in that. Both of the Martians, they looked like the actors, but they also looked like each other. They felt like a family group. It was so cool to see it executed that well.
It was really good. Any other stuff you liked from this episode?
I liked the Maggie scenes.
Okay.
Because her dad was really mean. He was really well played by the actor who Jason likes.
I just call him Tony Alameda from 24.
I thought he did a really good job. There were a couple of really good lines from him, but I actually thought this was Floriana Lima's best work of the entire series, and I really enjoyed her phone call where she called him in the middle of the night. I thought that was nice.
Her dad, by the way, because this was a whole episode about fathers, her dad was great. I thought that he had like so many great lines. He was a well-written character and he was a well-acted character. Like even the lines where he was like, "Look, I may be old, but I still know how to Google."
Yeah.
And then the fact that when he walks out and he's like, he can't do this. And while at first I thought that him bringing up the wall, like they're building up a wall against us, was a little forced. His performance, I thought, sold it and really sold, I thought, a viewpoint that is not the correct viewpoint, of course. Like this is a show about acceptance. Like we're accepting aliens. Like we have green Martians accepting white Martians. We have humans accepting Kryptonians, and this is about a father accepting a daughter. And we're against him in this scene. Like from every aspect, we're against him. But to be honest with you, I thought the way the actor portrayed that speech and the way it was written, I was like, okay, I understand your viewpoint. And that to me is what a great television show can do. It can make you look at a character that is 180 degrees different from you and understand them.
Whether or not they are correct.
Whether or not they're correct, or whether or not you agree with them.
Yeah.
That is great. To me, that's great television.
It came across as very, very genuine.
Yeah, I believed it. I believed everything about it. And also, the thing I liked about it is that he is also a cop, or he's a sheriff. He seems like a small town sheriff. Yeah. What else did you take from this episode?
I liked the final fight with all the Martians. The CG looked less good by that point in the episode. We sort of used it as an excuse to just have Carl Lumbly and David Harewood not be in their suits and act at each other, which was fine. I never thought I would see that many white Martians and green Martians.
They did look a little rubbery sometimes.
They did, but it was so cool.
Sure.
It was one of those great comic booky moments that Supergirl can pull off that we don't get in the other series.
I thought one of the best scenes of Supergirl happened in this episode, and that's specifically a scene where John talks to his father for the first time. His father doesn't believe it's him, and his father says the line, "Oh, John would be a coward if he left."
Yeah.
And there's this very quick scene between John and Kara, where John says, "What do you think your parents would say to you if you found out they were alive?"
Yeah.
And she goes, "Well, I hope they would be proud of me." And John goes, "I thought that too."
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, your heart just...
Oh, David Harewood kills it.
Oh, he is so good in this episode. And then Carl Lumbly, his dad, is equally as good because when they take Martian Manhunter dad, Martian Man Dad, to his home for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, "You've broken me. You've broken me, John." I'm trying to do a Carl Lumbly impression.
He's got such a good voice.
He has such a great voice. He's so good. And then in that same apartment, we get the great speech where Melissa Benoist, again, she doesn't just let the boys have good performances.
Oh, no.
She steps up to the plate because there was a moment where I was like, what? Supergirl's not doing much.
She felt a little shoehorned up until this scene.
This was the Martian Manhunter show.
Yes.
It really was.
Yes.
But Melissa Benoist's speech to Moran was great. And then the whole Martian scene, where even though the special effects were a little weird, where
with the daughters,
where grandfather walks in and just like, "Did you keep my secret?" And then he walks in, he's like, "Father!" And you were like, "Wow, I didn't think I would ever enjoy a scene with like little green Martians, but like it was so good, it was so heartfelt. I loved everything." And then we also get the scene of at the very end, and I'm dominating. So if there's
please, absolutely.
Maggie at the very end with her dad being like, "I'm good.
Yeah.
You gave me the best gift ever. I'm good. I don't need you." Which I thought again with this storyline, giving us another perspective that we don't usually see on TV, because that is a thing. On TV, it's very much a cliche to the families are all good.
Yeah.
Everybody loves each other. Mom's great. Dad's great. Sometimes dad runs away or maybe dad cheats. But most of the time, we love each other. And this was one where it was like, there are a lot of families out there. There are a lot of family relationships where the parents and the kids just don't get along. And both sides accept that. And to be honest with you, this is the first time in my head that I can remember something like this being shown on TV. This perspective being shown on TV, and I really appreciated it because I think there are millions of people out there that are watching this show that have that same relationship, a very, I would say, ill-tempered relationship with their parents, and they're fine with it. They just have to move on. So I appreciate that Maggie got to be that thing. And very finally, I wanted to hear you talk about this. the surprise reveal.
I was going to talk about that.
When we pull back the Corvette topping, or I don't know what to say. Convertible topping, and we see that Mirren is on Earth, and he gets a beautiful little scene with the plant.
First of all, he's so cute. He looks like a little child when he's like peering out. Like Carl Lumley is just like a 10 out of 10 on the adorable scale. And yes, I love it that he goes over, he spots the only green thing in this scene, which is this growing plant. And the moment that he has with this weed, this blade of grass, is so beautiful and speaks volumes about him as an actor and the show. And then when Supergirl leaves,
does everybody on this planet fly?
Not even that, where he's like, what do we do now? And John's like, let's go home.
We go home.
Like, that's so great. I'm dying for more like grandfather Martian Manhunter in the future of this season.
Martian Man-Dad. I'm very excited to see what they do with this character, because I thought they were going to either kill him or leave him on Mars.
I thought they were going to leave him on Mars.
I'm very excited that we get more of Justice League Unlimited's Martian Manhunter. All right, so do you have any other goods? Let's go into the bad.
I think that's most of the episode.
All right, let's go into the bad. Again, I talked about the cave. This looks like the Redress Dominator ship, of course. Supergirl was kind of a background character, but the episode was so good that I don't think I care.
Yeah.
There was a really bad editing choice in this episode, and we don't usually bring up the editing. We brought it up in our last Arrow review that it was so spectacular.
Really good.
There was a bad editing choice in this, and mainly it was a sound editing cue, because we went from John Jones' dad, Mirren, walking into his apartment being like, "You've broken me. I've been alone for 200 years. You've broken me." This is probably the biggest, most emotional scene we had in this entire episode. And we cut to the bridal shower, and Bare Naked Lady is like, "It's been 1 week since you looked at me."
First of all, it wasn't 1 week, but it was not 1 week.
Yes, it was. It was 1 week.
It was not. It was not a good.
It was 1 week.
It was not a good choice.
That's exactly the song it was.
Okay.
Tell her in the comments it was 1 week.
Not 1 week.
It was 1 week. I will bet you $100.
Okay. I look forward to getting $100.
And then again, there's a weird thing the CW has been doing over and over and over again, where they've been using, I think, bad music choices. Again, 1 week is one of them. I thought the Supergirl driving in the car was funny, but did it need to be the Britney Spears "Baby, Baby"?
Hit me, baby, one more time.
Hit me, baby, one more time.
I guess that's supposed to be a cute choice, because the 90s are supposed to be retro, and she would have been a young girl when that song came out. But that's a garbage song, and it was really annoying. So I don't know.
I called it a bad just on Britney Spears.
Yeah.
But the joke of it was funny.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move straight into the rating based on a scale of 1 to 5, Kryptonian crystals. Ashley, what do you give this episode of Supergirl that I forgot the title of?
Far From the Tree.
Far From the Tree.
Get it? Like an apple. I thought this was a great episode of Supergirl. This is the kind of storytelling that you can do with this show that we have been missing this season. Please, more like this. It was so good. Martian Manhunter needs to spin off 5 out of 5. I thought this was a near perfect.
5 out of 5.
I think this was a near perfect episode of Supergirl, which we don't normally get. So I want to laud it. I think it deserves it. What are you gonna give Far From the Tree?
This was a great episode of Supergirl. Even in this is probably Maggie's strongest episode. When at first we started, when we were gonna do the bridal shower, I was like, "Ooh, I don't know about this."
Yeah.
But actually, it became great because of Tony Alameda from 24, and I should look up that actor's name.
I'll look him up while you keep talking.
He's probably in the credits right there. We should credit him because he did a great, fantastic job. But Martian Manhunter was great, but I'm going to knock it a point because this is not the Martian Manhunter show. This is the Supergirl show. But it's still a great episode. I would give this 4 out of 5. What is the excellent actor's name?
Carlos Bernard.
Carlos Bernard, you did a fantastic job. I hope we see you more and more and more, actually. All right, Ashley, let's go into our predictions based on this episode. What do you think is going to happen in the future of Supergirl?
Okay, so I've had this prediction for a couple days now, and I usually bring up in the bad the fact that we see Maggie and Alex at odds with each other.
Yep.
I don't like that they can't just be happy for one Martian godforsaken episode. And I think that based on the fact that they are constantly in conflict, and this is the
talking about a kid,
third
too.
episode in a row where Alex has brought up, wanting to have a kid, and Maggie's really against it. I think this is going to be the breaking point for them. I don't think we're going to make it to the wedding because I don't think Maggie wants a child, and that makes me really sad. But to me, all the evidence that we've seen is building towards that. So unfortunately, I think Sandverse is going to be wrenched asunder probably by the midway point of this season.
I agree with you. I think it's going to happen.
No!
Yep.
What about you? What do you think is coming down the pipe for Supergirl?
Well, I'm kind of trying to predict what I think is going to happen with Mirren, Martian Manhunter. And
I love that.
I was trying to figure out what purpose I think he solves on this show. And if we're breaking up Sandverse, and we know that the woman who's going to be Rain is probably going to be broken away from her daughter because of when she turns into a monster. So I think that, and I hate to say this, I think Mirren, Martian Manhunter, his purpose on this season of Supergirl is to be Rain's major victim.
No, why would you say that?
Yep.
That's horrible. You're probably right.
I think he will be the way that we can kill somebody in the main cast, but that's not without killing the main cast. I think that's the reason why he's on Earth, is I think Mirren will die, and he will be Rain's first major kill.
Why don't they just kill Jimmy and make Mirren the head of Catco?
I know, if only we could do it. And then we could have a Justice League Unlimited reunion show, sort of.
That'd be great.
Sort of. All right. All right, so let's move into the future, and let's talk Legends of Tomorrow.
Legends of Tomorrow, Season 3, Episode 3, Zari. The Legends try to protect an outlaw named Zari in order to capture a rogue time traveler.
All right, we're going to talk about the good, we're going to talk about the bad, then we're going to talk about some ratings and some predictions. First off, they didn't think very hard on this title, did they?
No, nor on the episode description, if I'm going to be completely honest.
I really like in the beginning, we start out in 2042 Seattle, and we get to see a time agent that is a favorite of ours, Gary.
I love Gary.
I like Gary, too. Yeah, I want Gary to be part of the regular cast. I want him to just join the Wave Rider full time.
I do too, absolutely. I think we might be heading in that direction. You think so? Well, we got a lot of Gary this episode.
And he was on the ship most of the episode.
And he was on the ship for about half of the last episode, so I think we might be straying into recurring guest star with him. He's stupendous, and if we can't have him as Ted Cord, then A+, more Gary, please, 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 please.
Oh, what else did you dig from this episode?
I love that we started with Kuwasa.
Yes.
She was introduced at the end of the last episode. Of course, she came over from the Vixen animated series.
Which, by the way, is great. If you haven't watched it, you should totally watch it.
Go over to CWC after this, or go and come back.
There's also a Blu-ray.
That's true. With a beautiful,
but CWC you can watch it for free.
There you go. Support Vixen by the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I think the actress is great.
Yes, she looks great too.
I want to commend her because you can tell she's a stuntie. She does all her own work in this episode.
Her fight with Katie Lotz, it's her.
Yeah.
It's really her. And then there's also one at the very end where she gets pushed back, I think from Vixen's amulet. I'm not exactly remembering right. And it's
her.
You can
see
tell.
Her face.
Yeah, you can tell it's her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Legends has proven that if you can have a facey, just because of Katie Lotz is so good.
And by that she means an actor that could do their own stunts.
A stunt person whose face you
or
can
a stunt
see.
person who could be an actor.
Yes.
Yeah, facey.
Well, that's what we call it in the biz.
This is what we call movies with people in them. Faces.
That's true. I learned that in my stage combat class. Thank you, Amda. I think that that's a great strength that Legends of Tomorrow has that some of the other shows can't pay off. And I thought seeing more of her this episode really cemented her as a badass villain. She'll probably only be around for the first half of the season. But
I have a feeling that she's gonna be around like Damien Dark was last season.
I really hope so. I think she's great.
I bet you she's in half the episodes.
Also, A+, her eyeshadow game was really good in this episode.
We gotta talk about probably I think the MVP of this episode. Mick Rory.
I was hoping you were going to say that.
If you're a fan of DCTV, you know that I love to impersonate Mick Rory because his lines are amazing. And the dialogue that they were writing for Mick Rory in this episode was astounding. At one point, he was like, "Prison Break, I'm in." And then there was another one where I wrote this line down. He was just like, "Open your mouth and say some words."
Okay. But you've forgotten my favorite line, which was, if anyone's going to kill Haircut, it's going to be me.
If anyone's going to kill Haircut, it's me.
I so want Legends of Tomorrow to end with Mick killing Ray.
There's also another one
just right next
where they
to
were
her.
searching for Zari, and he walked into the bar, and he's like, "What do they do to my bar?"
Yeah. I like how you can't do the impersonation without doing the eyes. The eyes are integral. It's like you can't do.
Don't care.
You can't do Lance without the hands.
Yeah, you need the hand. You need the forehead. Yeah. You can't do McGraw.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. So, another thing I liked about this episode was I like when we learn little stuff about the future of this Arrow universe, DC universe, and I liked actually learning of the illegal Metahuman Act of 2021.
Right around the corner.
Yeah, right around the corner. Also, Argus had these little drones, and Argus's drones recognized all of them and had them classified as missing. Now, I wonder, either one of those, are the Legends just never going to come back to the time stream? Now, here's the weird thing. Do we think this is an alternate future, kind of like the Star City of 2040, 50, whatever it was we saw in season 1?
Yeah.
Or this illegal Metahuman Act of 2021 is very close to the current timeline of our shows, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this. Do you think that, like, maybe that's a future storyline we got coming for these shows? We're not that far from 2021.
I think that is a future 4, 5, or 6-part crossover.
Okay.
But I do think that the Legends are never coming back.
Oh, okay, they're like gonna be like Quantum Leap. Spoilers for Quantum Leap from 1993.
I've never seen Quantum Leap, but I'm gonna go because I like the Scott Bakula reference.
Yeah. What else did you like from this episode?
I really liked the actress who played Zari, and I have her pulled up, and her name is Tala Ashi.
Or I should say Isis, as she's known in the comic books.
Yeah, I see why we didn't call her that.
Don't worry, it won't be in the tags.
Yeah. But I thought
YouTube will still demonetize this video no matter what.
I thought she gave a great performance. I didn't think the writing on her was the sharpest.
Let's say that for the bad. I have some writing on her character in the bad as well.
And I don't necessarily understand why we need to cram another full-time cast member onto the show.
Well, we just lost a full-time cast member. We lost Rip.
Right, but we went all of last season without Rip as well.
Oh, sure.
But so I'm hoping, I thought she was good, and I'm hoping that as she gets more to do working with the team instead of against them, that she lives up to the great performance that we got from her this episode.
Well, I will say that a thing that I liked about her was seeing the pendant of Isis, which is really cool. It looked way better than the last time we saw it in live action, which was on Smallville. We saw it on Smallville. Yeah, it looked way better.
I forgot.
Yep.
I've seen
Lois
that.
Lane became Isis. Anyways, I like the character of Isis because she's a very important character in the one of my favorite comic books of all time, 52. And I like the idea that is kind of brand new to this, that these totems can interact with each other.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
Amaya's totem goes in the bad for this episode. But I'm really hoping that they forge a bond and a friendship over the course of this season. I think that could make for some really interesting storytelling.
And I also really like that we put the Vixen amulet totem to bed, that it's not going to screw up anymore, that she's kind of took control of it. Because I really liked the scene, even though it was just filmed in some Vancouver forest, I really liked the scene that Amaya had with her ancestor.
Yes.
And I really she was like, take control. And I thought that the older actress did a great job.
Yep.
And I thought the writing in that scene was pretty good. Let's also talk about that there's another Time Bureau ship out there that's bigger than the Wave Rider, that kind of looks like the Andromeda from, a little bit like the Andromeda from, Gene Roddenberry's terrible series, or the Kevin Sorbo action hour with aliens, I like to call it. But, I thought that was actually shocked that so there are other time ships out there. Rip has been building other time ships. Now, I didn't like the fact that they just put Agent Sharp, I believe is her name, in front of basically the Wave Rider set. She's just on the bridge with more lights.
They totally, and then they set her on the same digital set.
I get it. Production sets are expensive.
This is an expensive show too. So. No joke.
And then another thing that I thought, the special effects I thought were pretty damn good in this episode, because I really liked the effect where Kawasa was like drowning Ray that was around his face. I thought that was really cool. And again, we get the reveal. Kawasa becomes even more interesting at the very end, where she's like, I can't hurt you because then I won't exist.
Yeah.
So is Kawasa...
I got a theory about it. I got it in my predictions.
I will be quiet. Remind me to. I'll add an addendum to your theory. And then, to be honest with you, I liked that we at the very end we ended the episode going back to Ivytown and Ray Palmer. And I thought that was a really neat little moment to go to the... Because as soon as it said Ivytown and they didn't even say who the kid was, I was like, Ray Palmer.
He bikes up and Jason goes, that's Ray Palmer.
Yep. Because I know the comic books.
I liked his little E.T. scene at the end. I thought it was sweet. It'll be interesting.
It kind of reminded me of It.
Yeah, well, it feels very 80s.
All right. Any other goods? Let's move to the bad.
Let's move to the bad.
All right, let's go to the bad. The new intro of Katie Lotz
that voiceover
was not great. The way it was really clunky. It's like, we saved the universe twice, but nobody cares. Like, I just didn't dig it. It's not. I kind of think Legends. To be honest with you, I think every show, with the exception of Flash and Arrow, should just drop the opening intros, including Supergirl.
I really think that every show except Arrow should drop it, because to me, no one's ever done a better opening monologue than Stephen Amell.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, then don't do them.
The only reason I give it to Flash is because I'm Barry Allen, the fastest man alive.
It's a classic
comic book thing.
I just don't think it's as good.
I agree with you. The Arrow one has always been better.
But I've especially never liked the Legends one, and this new one is not great.
Right. The exposition of it just got clunkier.
Yeah.
So.
Also, Legends is a bad name for this team.
Yeah.
It's not a good name.
So the Legends plan when they first show up to Zari is just like, yo, come with us if you want to live. And then half of them are in costume and half of them aren't in costume. That kind of just really bothered me.
Yeah, be consistent.
Well, it just didn't make sense because I was like, guys, again, last season we proved that they're not nincompoops.
Yeah,
and now they're big nincompoops again.
They've been idiots this season.
I didn't really like it.
I didn't, even though I liked Zari, and I did speak well
Let's
of the
talk about
actress
Zari.
earlier. She's got nothing to play here except I don't want to be in this scene.
Yes.
And we've had this discussion already, so I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit. It's one thing I don't want to be in the scene because I have to go save someone's life, because I left my stove on, because I have to pee. Like, there's motivation there, but she really just seems bored in a lot of these scenes. And even though she's giving a good performance and she's believable and she's beautiful, that's not interesting television.
Her character motivation for most of her scenes was, I'm better than you, I'm bored by you.
Yeah.
And most of the time, if you give a character that motivation, it's like, well, just leave the scene then, character.
Yeah.
There's no reason for you to be in this scene.
Except that we know that you're going to be around at least until the mid-season finale because Phil Jimenez drew you on that poster.
You guys are time travelers.
Yeah, it might. Hopefully, it's just the product of a bad introduction, and that it'll get better as we go along.
Give me a beer.
He does drink in like every single episode.
I don't care.
Open it with your teeth. Ugh. Gross.
Okay, let's also talk about something that was really bad and really bad writing. Did we really need to see Nate on an LSD vision quest? Now, here's the thing. The vision quest actually provided a great scene with Amaya. So to me, I was like, that's purpose. That goes to the scene. But then we compound it with this really bad camera angle of a GoPro shot right up Nate's nose, and then Nate spending the entire time being like, and he seemed so out of character and so he didn't seem like he was in the same episode as everybody because he was jokey, I'm high. It seemed like he was playing on like the Wonder Years episode where Kevin discovers pot for the first time, and everybody else is on Legends of Tomorrow. I just, the only way I can explain it, he wasn't in the same show.
Yeah, I liked Nate in this episode because everybody treated him the way I would treat him, like he's a moron. And he wasn't involved in any of the main action, so more drugs for Nate, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
He should not have been included in the narrative device. The Vision Quest, like you said, for Amaya,
That's all he did
for a
episode.
totem-bearing spiritual woman makes sense, not for her annoying boyfriend.
Yeah, I more and more I'm just like,
There's no reason for him to be on the show.
They sort of stumbled upon it in season 2. Like, the fact that he's a historian is what they need to lean on.
Mm-hmm.
Like we lean on Martin Stein for science, we need to lean on Nate for history. But I understand when you go to the future, what the hell is he supposed to do?
Well, he's on a time ship, so why doesn't he read the history of the future?
Well, I guess he could have Gideon plug it in.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
He can read. Presumably.
Minor little nitpick. They've been doing it for several episodes now, but the Adam's face visor is completely black. I just don't like it. It makes him look like an NFL player. I really want that visor to be solid and make it a complete helmet, kind of like what they did in Battlestar Galactica, and just light his face from the inside.
So we can go out in space.
So we can go in space, but like having it like this, like we're like, oh, this is all we're. Actually, it's like this. This is all we're seeing of Brian and Ralph for those episodes.
That's
and
okay though.
It's just, it looks dumb.
I do like that you went to football player because to me that's like a hockey mask.
Yeah. And also, okay, I get this is another episode where we have to kind of sort of create conflict because there isn't a strong villain. Like, Kawasa was strong, but she only was after Zari, and the Legends sort of had to force themselves in the storyline, so they didn't really have a villain to fight. So, of course, for the third episode in a row, we create the Time Bureau as their enemy, and to be honest with you, 3 times out of 3, this is getting really boring, and you could tell that they had no ideas because, like, last episode, we had a giant fight for no reason, and the first episode,
But at least it was a cool fight.
Sure, but this episode, we decided to do Time Ship Chicken.
Yeah.
And Agent Sharp was just like, ah, and gave up. It goes like, create a conflict for the Legends. When you do that, like we saw last season with Reverse Flash, they are an engaging team. This is a great cast.
Yeah,
but they need something to play off of besides just like, we're not going to let those guys tell us what to do. It's not strong motivation.
It's so funny you bring up the Time Ship Chicken because I completely forgot about it until you brought it up, which is how ineffective it is as a storytelling device.
It was just dumb. And then again, you prove that Agent Sharp is an ineffective character because she just leaves.
It would be fine if she didn't want to work with them but reluctantly agreed to.
And then gave them Gary to sort of watch them.
Yeah. Like, there's ways to work with that character. I don't think that actress is bad. I think she's a great fighter. I know you do. But I think there's ways to fold her into the show in every episode that could be better. And I think that's what's frustrating about it.
Yeah. All right, so let's move straight into the rating of this episode. Ashley, based on a scale of 1 to 5 Wave Riders that I won't put on screen, what do you give Zari?
I actually think Zari's a step up from what we've had so far this season.
There's no Billy Zane in this episode, so you watch it.
There is no Billy Zane.
You watch it, sister!
But we got the threat on Ray Palmer's life, and we tabled Nate in one episode. And we introduced a cool new female character. So I'm going to give it 3. I do think it's the best episode we'd have so far, and if we're going to get more Kawasa, I'm on board for that. So what are you going to give Zari there, Mick?
Well, I had a beer in this episode.
Uh-huh.
That's 1 point. At least.
Uh-huh.
There was a chick in this episode.
Uh-huh.
That's 2. I think that's about it.
That's all I'm giving this episode, too.
We flipped
I thought this was a step down. I don't know what I gave Legends. I think I gave it a 2 last week as well. I don't remember. This was not a great episode of Legends Tomorrow, but primarily because the Legends had nothing to fight. At this episode last season, we'd already had Reverse Flash for 2 episodes.
Yeah, and we were about to get Damien Dark,
yeah, we're pretty
in
close.
A couple episodes.
And again, that might just be the factor of we had an established villain that we know, and we have an established villain that we don't know.
Yeah.
So, again, I just thought, like, you know, the only person that was really involved with the Zari storyline was Vixen and Adam.
Yeah.
Everybody else was just kind of like had no impact to the plot. Like Martin Stein just kind of sat in the ship the entire episode.
Sarah was around for
so it was Sarah just played chicken. That's the only thing she did. Oh. Okay, so let's move into the predictions. Ashley, based on this episode, where do you think Legends of Tomorrow is going?
Okay, so this is my Kawasa prediction.
Let's hear it.
So I predicted last week that I think that Nate and Amaya are going to get together.
I agree with that.
And that they are going to have a baby, and then that baby is going to be the parent of Mari. And I think that Kawasa...
I think I know where you're going with this, but keep going. I'm excited.
I think Kawasa is either Mari's much younger sister or Mari's daughter.
I think she's Mari's daughter.
Yeah, and I think that...
Or Mari's granddaughter to have a parallel of the 2 Vixens.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
but I think she's like a progeny.
Yep.
And I think that this season is going to hinge on Nate and Amaya having to basically accept that they're going to be together because for some reason they won't, because they shouldn't be. Please. And it's going to hinge on them having to decide if they're going to kill their great-granddaughter.
Yep.
Or I also don't know, maybe this is headed towards she's going to join the team too, because apparently that's what we do with characters now. They just join the Legends.
Maybe.
So that's my prediction, that she's related to Nate and Amaya. How about you? What's your prediction for Legends?
My prediction is that we are going to have an episode with Zari where we go to a future. I think we're going to go to the past. I think we're going to go back to BC times, back to almost ancient Egypt, and we are going to visit a temple. And in that temple, in a country called Kandak, we are going to see the temple of Teth Adam. Now, Ashley, do you know who Teth Adam is?
Black Adam.
Yes. Now, that is the closest we will get to Black Adam because they're not going to call him Black Adam because of the movie.
No. Maybe we'll see a guy with pointy ears.
But actually, what I think is going to happen is I think that you could see a little tiny, I'm going to say worm in this temple. And this little tiny worm, of course, if you're a Shazam fan, is called Mr. Mind. Now, if you know anything about some of Rip Hunter's future adventures,
yes,
Mr. Mind grows up to become a giant monster larvae that eats the multiverse.
He's really gross.
What if that's Mollis? Because he becomes a moth.
Oh, that's a great idea.
But see, they have to go back in ancient times. They become his enemy, and then over the thousands of years, he becomes the monster threat. I think Mr. Mind, or a version of Mr. Mind, might be Mollis.
Oh, I want all of that to come true. That's a great idea.
There you go. So go down in the comments and tell us what you think about our predictions, and then click subscribe.
And why not click on one of the videos popping up on the screen? And for more exclusive geeky content, go to patreon.com/Jawiin.
Stick around the channel. We got an Arrow review coming tomorrow night. Bye, Super Friends.